Hey Valley, this week at the table, we talk about the difference between judgment and accountability. Check out this video. All right, Lance, so you just completed a message on sin and specifically judgment and the judgment of sin from a member of the church to another person, or just a person-to-person kind of approach, right? So we're not talking about God's judgment on people, but just how within our own society people tend to judge.
Correct.
Right. I think a great question to come from the message is, what is the difference between judgment and accountability?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a difficult question to kind of lay out because sometimes accountability can feel like judgment, right? If you're in a bad spot and somebody's coming to you and they just love you and they genuinely want to help you get out of a situation, that can come across as being you're not living up to my standard and I want you to change your behavior. And that's not always what's being presented. Right. Now, judgment is one of those things where we take a look at people and we basically say, you're not living up to my standard or to this standard, to the standard of the Bible, whatever the situation is. And there is a certain amount of condemnation that goes with that. It's that you aren't living up, you're failed, you're no good, you'll never work, you'll never fit, you'll never be whatever. Accountability, that open end, the door is wide open for us to take them to Jesus and hopefully see life change in the midst of that.
Okay.
My goal in coming to you, Andrew, and talking to you about something that I've noticed, something that I know that you're struggling with, if it's to put you in your place or to make myself feel better by pointing out your sin, the motives are wrong. There's judgment involved in that. If my goal is to come to you and to help you to find some sort of healing or some sort of forgiveness, an ability to go beyond that, there's accountability in that.
Okay, so maybe for yourself, if you said in your message that there are two people that you go to when you need just truth spoken into your life. What's the kind of the thought process that you go through, I guess, to make sure that you're not being judged, but you're being held accountable, right? So like if you hear something that kind of upsets you, what are you thinking about? What do you reflect on to know that they're not judging you, but they're holding you accountable?
From the individuals, the two individuals that I was referring to?
Yeah, or just anybody, I guess, if someone is trying to
hold you.
It's
going to be different in those cases. Okay. Because in the cases of the two individuals, I know that they love me.
Okay.
I know that they have my interest in seeing me whole, seeing me become the pastor that I need to become, seeing the church become the church that the church needs to become. So I know that they're looking at it from that perspective. Okay. They're not trying to manipulate me, control me, to get me to do something. So I believe in them. I believe in their love.
Okay.
It's genuine. So for me, the thought process whenever I go through, and honestly, I don't go to them immediately. It's not like I just go, oh man, I really found myself in a tough spot. I need to go and ask. I go through the same cycle. I go through the same cycle everybody else goes through, right?
Yeah.
My first cycle, my first thought is going to be some sort of justification. You've done something to me. I feel this feeling. I'm justified in this feeling. I want to act out on this feeling. I want to do this, this, and this. And then I find another string of things that I can put together that you've done over the past. And now I've really painted you to be this terrible person, right, in my mind, which justifies what it is that I want to do. Then from there, sometimes I will go and just in conversation start talking to somebody. And before you know it, we're talking about this situation and you're feeding me, because I've set it up in such a way to where now you're feeding the way that I feel about it. I know that this individual has been tough for you or whatever. So sometimes I'll go through that cycle. And then finally I get to a place where I go, wait a second, this is not good. This is not helpful. All I'm doing is reinforcing these feelings that I want to feel. Okay. So then I go to the individuals, and sometimes I go early, sometimes I go late. But I go to the individuals and I sit down and I say, okay, and usually they already know, right? They've seen it. We've had some sort of conversation, something, and I tried to see if I could manipulate them to come to my side. Right. And then whenever I say, okay, I need to hear from you, what do you see? And when they say, I think you're wrong here. Or they say, you know what, I think there's something to it, but you're handling it the wrong way. I think you need to go and you need to handle it this way. This is more of the godly way. So in the midst of that, that's how I know that they've got That's how I know I can trust them. Now,
Okay.
there are some individuals that I could go to, and I think your question was more along the lines of how do you what's going through your mind.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes people may have awfully good advice, but I don't know if they're coming from the right spot. So I struggle with trusting that advice. Does that, and I don't know that that's a right thing. In other words, their advice may be good.
But it makes sense because you said that the individuals that you already know that they have your best interest in
Correct.
mind. And if someone from the church came to me and pointed something out, if I don't know them that well, I don't know if they really have my best interest in mind or if they're trying to protect something that I don't see. Maybe in some way I've shamed them in some capacity, or they just have another agenda that I'm not aware about and they're trying to manipulate me into whatever. And I think that's what you're saying is that you have to, there's a level of faith and trust with the individual, and if they have that rapport with you, it's easier to trust, whereas if it's just coming out of nowhere, it's kind of hard.
I think you have to test. I do. I think you have to test fruit. I think you have to test motives. You have to make sure that you're not disqualifying some things just because I don't like where it came from. I think you have to do that. But at the same time, you have to make sure that you're being discerning.
So it sounds like what we're saying, the difference, though judgment and accountability can feel the same, the difference is the motivation underneath.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's thank you for your answer. Guys, if you haven't had a chance yet to hear the message, if you just click right here on the microphone, we'll bring you right to it. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks for watching our video. If you have any comments or questions, please let us know. There should be a comment box here on Facebook, or if you're on YouTube, it has the same thing.